Well, still in Minnesota. Yes, there's like 6 feet of ice still and like bazillion feet of snow, but still loving life. Still loving life. Today's episode is going to be a tips and trick video about spring walleye fishing, the tips and tricks that I would tell you guys. And this is from not an expert, definitely not an expert. This is just what I think works for me and for a average wader shore fisherman. So this doesn't really have to apply to the boats. I mean, you can use it, but this is mainly for my wader fishermen that are fishing from shore, the bank guys, big bank guys. Well, you know, the sun's at least shining, so that makes me feel good about myself, but I'm thinking the ice will be melting soonish. I think sometime in April, I'll either be fishing up here or down in Brookings, and I'll be doing some open water walleye fishing, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of my favorite times of the year, honestly, because you can catch big pre-spawn walleyes. And I wanted to post this video now so you guys can kind of get hyped up, because I know a lot of you have that cabin fever, but also just so you guys can watch this and take what you learned from this video and apply it to when you actually go fishing. So that's why I'm posting it now. We're gonna head over to the store, and I'm gonna take you guys in the store and show you guys what kind of baits I'll use, and I'll tell you about the tips and tactics as well. But let's go to the store. Before we make a stop at the old tackle store, I had to stop and get some gas for the old beauty here. In the last video I posted, it was an ice fishing video, and a lot of you were commenting like, oh my gosh, this guy doesn't like ice fishing anymore. He doesn't like fishing at all. Like, he's complaining so much. Like, guys, that's not the case. I am just sick of ice fishing because of the snow. Like, I'm just getting that cabin fever like a lot of you guys are. No, I love fishing. I love ice fishing still. It's just, it's time to move on, I think. I mean, I'm just sick of the cold, honestly. Like, I'm sorry if it sounded like I was complaining, which I might have been complaining a lot. I'm ready for my walleyes, man. I'm ready for my walleyes, and I'm ready for my pre-spawn bass as well. So that's gonna be wild. Like I was saying, guys, I still like fishing. I still love it. I still love ice fishing. I'm just ready for something different, you know? You feel? Oh. Yep, there we go. Who else does this? Let me know.
Shields, this is Katie.
Hi, Katie. I was just wondering if I could get transferred to the fishing department.
Yep, one moment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
She seemed nice.
Shields Fishing, this is Brady.
Hey, yeah, I was just wondering if you guys had your open water stuff out yet.
We have some. We don't have the Authentics out yet, but we do have like the VMC Neon Moon Eyes. I don't have any, and I only have 2 colors of those.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, no problem, sir. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Well, I was gonna go to Shields, but it sounds like they don't have all of their stuff out yet, which is okay. Not gonna bash them or anything. Like, it's understandable. It's still prime ice fishing here because there's a lot of ice here. So we're gonna try one more store and hopefully they got some stuff. Since Shields didn't have much open water stuff, after a little bit of confusion, I went to Runnings, and I believe they have some more open water opportunities like baits and stuff. So I'm gonna talk about tips and tactics and location, all that stuff right now, and then I'm gonna go inside and kind of show you guys what I would use or what I'd pick out, line, baits, all that good stuff. But first, I just kind of wanted to talk about location and more like tactics and stuff like that. So I want to talk about location first, and this is kind of like the big transition period where the ice has just got off. Well, it hasn't got off yet, but when the ice gets off and it gets closer to that spawning period for these walleyes, Mother Nature is telling these walleyes, like, hey guys, it's time to go and spawn, like, go and do your thing, you know? So these walleyes, by instinct, they try to find warmer water to spawn in, and they're gonna go up shallow. That's like where I have most of my luck. And again, this is coming from a bank fisherman's point of view. I can do a video about boats, like fishing for walleye out of boats, if that makes sense, but this video is more related around the bank fishermen, and it's more relatable to you guys, I feel like. So when I go open water fishing for walleyes in the spring, I like to fish from the bank. There's something about just casting and throwing on the waders. I find it a lot more enjoyable throwing on the waders and doing that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, fishing in a boat's cool, but like, there's just something about putting on those waders, man, and casting and having your fingers freezing. Like, I love that stuff. Like I was saying, these walleyes, they're moving into that spawning period, so they're moving up shallow. They're trying to find warmer water just so they can spawn and find more bait fish to eat. Like, they're really hungry and aggressive during this time period. Places to target would be anywhere under 12 feet is kind of what I find most of my luck in. Honestly, I fish a lot of times in 6 feet of water or less. That's where I find some big mamas during that pre-spawn period. and they're very active, and they're looking for a lot of bait fish mostly. So anything you throw during the spring should relate to a bait fish or shad, because that's mostly what they're after, honestly, while they're in this aggressive spawning period. They're gonna find those sand flats or like any gravel you guys can find. Gravel or sand are kind of like the key components, because the gravel takes in heat and thus it makes it warmer. Thus, the walleyes like that more. So target anywhere below 12 feet. 6 feet is kind of like the money move for me. Now, I'm not saying you can't catch fish in deeper, colder water. Like, you definitely can, but that's not what this video is about. This video is more about the shallower areas that are more accessible to anybody and their brother. That was a very brief description on kind of location, but I think that gives you guys kind of like a good idea what's going on. Another thing that I like to target during those areas, or anywhere where there's moving water as well. I like fishing this one place. It's a shallow gravel like flat, but there's also a little creek that runs in. So I got that water movement going in the current, and that's where a lot of those smaller bait fish are going to be, and those walleyes know that. So later in the night, they move up shallow to feast on all of those good fish. Time of day that I really like targeting walleyes are, my money move is right before sunset. That's kind of where I find most of my luck. Like literally 30 minutes before the sun is like gonna go down and it's completely black. That's kind of like the best time for me. I have had nights where I stay late and fish through the night, like till like 11, 12, you know, and that's a good time period to catch them as well. I don't really do much fishing in the mornings, but it's just as good. When I do go, it's good. But I will say most of my luck has come right before sunset and a little bit after sunset. That's just a quick explanation on location, time of day, and all that good stuff. But I think now I'm gonna go inside and show you guys what baits I like to use and how I like to work them during this time frame. And hopefully I have some stuff there. Don't want anybody getting in that bad boy. That thing's a freaking beauty. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I bomb around on Crocs a lot just because they're really accessible and stuff like that. So pro tip, if you guys are gonna go ice fishing or any type of fishing or hunting, or just need something to get you from point A to point B, to change into your waders, to change into your muck boots, I would suggest Crocs because they're very easy and hell, they're comfortable, man. They're comfortable, I'm proud to say that. Well, it looks like they have most of their open water stuff out, which is good. There's a few categories that I like, baits that I like fishing during this time period. And there's hard baits and soft plastics and live bait. I'll just kind of go over each one as I see them. We'll start with soft plastics, I guess. Not really seeing my go-to plastic, which is a bummer. But my go-to plastic for the spring is the Bee Fishing Authentic series plastics. Those things are honestly what I have a lot of my luck on. When you're throwing soft plastics or anything in the spring for walleyes, they should imitate a shad or a baitfish imitation. So let me see what I can find here that kind of is like what I'm explaining. It's hard because I don't have the stuff that I actually use all the time, but I'll find things that will work for sure. Okay, so right here we got some Kitex. These things all are very good. I've actually used these before. They imitate a shad imitation very well. This right here, that looks really juicy. That's kind of like a marble greenish color. I like that. I would mess with that. These look really good too. That's white and like another bluish kind of silverish color. Any of those would work very well. Colors that I like throwing in the spring, I like kind of switching it up. It depends what they're hitting on. Like some days they may like a certain color more, honestly. But my go-to colors that seems to catch fish all the time, either Fire Tiger or something natural, more like that. Those Kitex I just showed you, they're kind of like that marble kind of shad imitation looking one, like silver. White's always good as well, but those are kind of the colors that I like going by. So I would suggest getting multiple colors and kind of seeing what they hit on. Like if a buddy's gonna throw silver, you throw a neon like green kind of thing. Like just kind of see what the fish want that day. So these right here are another thing that I use in the summer to switch things up. These are the Power Bait Ripple Shads. I find a lot of luck on these as well. Like I said, got the Fire Tiger right there. This is kind of the color that I throw mostly with this bait. I like these, those work as well. I would suggest those. And you can never go wrong with a good twister tail. I like throwing twister tails. They're really easy to use. White is always my go-to for twister tails if I'm gonna use twister tails. Cadence is a big key when you're fishing for walleyes in the spring. They're gonna be different every day, kind of like the colors. You never know what they're gonna want. You're gonna have to play with it. Sometimes they want it very aggressively and very fast, so you're just ripping the plastics here. Other times you're gonna want to slow it down and kind of just reel it in very slowly. You can also jig them. I like throwing them out there sometimes, kind of giving a little jig up, reel in, pause, jig up. A lot of the times I'll get my bites when they hit the bottom or like as soon as I throw in on the drop. The big key to cadence and how to work those baits, it's hard to say because the fish are gonna be different every time. I know a lot of times, like I said, I catch them on the fall or just with that slow retrieve ever so often hitting that bottom. So you're gonna have to figure out what cadence the fish like, but once you find it, keep repeating it. If they like the twitch pause, do that. If they like the slow sinking approach, do that. If they like the just reeling in super fast, do that. You're gonna have to play with your cadences. And then where is my actual go-to? Okay, so these right here are my go-to. I'm not even lying. These things are like a plug and play. So when you're fishing for these walleyes, it's a lot of searching. You wanna throw your baits and search for these fish and kind of cover the water column as much as you can possible. These things are great search baits for these fish. If you only had time to pick one bait and needed something that would consistently catch fish, for me, that's the Mimic Minnows by Northland Tackle. I usually get the 1/4 ounce jigs or sometimes the 1/8 ounce jigs. It depends, but these are absolutely fire. I absolutely love the Fire Tiger. And then the pink always works good for me, as well as purple. And again, like I said, these would be my go-to bait. They're the most versatile, I think. You can use them as a search bait. You can cover a lot of water, and also you can cover the whole water column. You can with all the other baits I've gone over so far, but these I feel like are kind of the best, like the Swiss Army knife, if that makes sense, for walleye spring fishing baits. Okay, jig heads. Okay, jig heads are what puts the plastics together, and if I was gonna pick one jig head that is gonna go on all my plastics, I suggest the VMC Moon Eye jigs. These things are killer. My favorite color is more of this darker green color. They have a bunch of colors. These things are killer, and I like pairing these with all of my plastics. So I would suggest these. I would go 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce for these guys. Look at all of the hard baits. We're gonna move into the hard bait section. Lipless cranks, shallow divers, and jerk baits. Those work really well. Again, colors are gonna stay the same this whole time. Anything like Fire Tiger or something like neon or even like a more natural color like that would work. So these are some good examples right here. These are just some shallow divers. I wouldn't recommend anything diving deeper than 12 feet. I like the shallow divers that stay in that 6 range. You want it banging the bottom every so often. That's what you want. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we found the lipless cranks. These are another killer move. If you're looking for something to give a little bit more like brattle and a little bit more sound, these are what I would suggest. I'm not seeing the sizes that I usually use, but these are another good thing to use during the spring. What's this right here? This is kind of like a Fire Tiger color. I would recommend that for sure. Another color that I really like using with these guys are just the straight silver ones. I've caught my biggest walleye in that. Husky jerks, these are pretty much like jerk baits. These are all very good shallow divers right here. Colors that I like messing with a lot in the spring. The Fire Tiger, of course, you guys know I like my Fire Tiger. And then this color right here, I don't know what this color is. It's like neon green with like a red head. Those are my kind of go-tos as well for shallow divers and jerk baits. But that's kind of like a quick overview on the hard baits that I would use. Lipless cranks, shallow divers, and jerk baits. The rip and sheds, you can work a lot of ways. I mean, honestly, I've had luck just throwing them out there and just reeling in them slowly. But I've also had times where I throw them, let them sink, rip, kind of wait a little bit, reel in my slack, do it all over again. That's another way to work those husky jerks and jerk baits. You can go with a twitch pause effect, or you can just reel them in slowly. Those work as well. The shallow divers, I mostly honestly just kind of reel in the cadence consistently like that. You want to hit the bottom every so often. That's kind of what I would use for retrieval wise for the hard bait and stuff like that. Yep, right here. These are always a safe go-to. Sorry about the auto, don't know how much you can hear. Fatheads are what I use in the spring for walleyes most of the time. Let me see if I can get a scoop. Oh yeah, these are the good ones right here. I like the bigger ones just because I seem to catch bigger and more fish with them, but fatheads are kind of my go-to live bait. And then if I had to choose a second option, I would choose the crappie minnows. I don't use them that much, but these are generally gonna be smaller. And if they're being very finicky someday and they only want live bait, but they're not taking the bigger fatheads, I would suggest to use crappie minnows. Being a wader fisherman, you're gonna want one of these. I'm telling you right now, this is a good tip for you guys. Something small like that, a little bait thing like that is very key, because when you're out in the cold, you don't wanna have all your minnows bombing around on this thing out in the cold with you, because it's too big and bulky. I mean, you can, but these guys right here are what I would suggest, because you can put a few minnows in here, like from here into there, and then you can attach it to your waders right on your hip right there. So having that right there is just a little tip for you guys. If you guys are more of a live bait fisherman, I would suggest getting one of these and just tie them to your waders. Use one of those stringers and just attach them to you, because then you have access to your minnows in the water with you, and you don't have, it saves time going back and forth between the bank and the water. You'll catch more fish in time. Live bait versus artificial bait, that's kind of the debate that there is. Some days they want the plastics, and honestly some days they just want the live baits. It's all about the fish, guys. It's all about the fish. I'm just trying to tell you guys what I would use. If you're looking to catch bigger fish, I probably would suggest the live bait. I've caught most of my bigger fish on the live bait, on the fatheads, on the VMC jigs. But there's a problem with live bait, being that one, they fall off the hooks pretty easy, which is a bummer, and two, it's a hassle. It's a hassle. Your fingers get cold dipping in the water and all that good stuff. So that's why they do make artificial baits, where you can just throw a plastic on a jig and just reel it in constantly and never really have to change, honestly. If I'm gonna go fishing, I'm always gonna go with artificial baits and live bait, just to see what the fish want that day. But I will say probably most of my fish come on plastics in the springs, just because I am too lazy to change my bait. I'm lazy, so that's why I probably catch most of the fish on artificial, but you can catch a lot of fish on live bait and bigger fish as well. All right, so we got some line right here. I'm not gonna favor one brand over another, but I will say I probably use Trilene most of the time. This right here looks pretty good. This is what I would use. This is 8-pound monofilament. I would suggest using monofilament just because fluorocarbon, it sinks a little bit slower than this, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want that. Most of the time I would say monofilament's kind of the go-to for me. I wouldn't suggest braid just because there's a lot of stretch, and also it's a little bit easier to see. This is kind of the best of both worlds. It sinks faster than mono. It's a lot less visible than freaking braid. I don't really know much about line, but I would use 8-pound mono if I were you guys. All right, so there's a lot of rods that you guys can use, like brand wise. I will say probably most of the time this spring I will be using either Fenwick's or Favorite rods. When I'm looking for a rod for spring walleye fishing, I want that backing, but I still want that sensitive tip so I can feel every tick on the bottom. Personally, I like a rod more than 7 foot, honestly. The longer the rod, the more sensitive most of the time. So I would suggest something over 7 foot, a stronger backing, and a little bit lighter action on top there. Right here we just got some Fenwicks, I'll show you. So yeah, we got some Fenwicks right here. I'm not priced, oh wow, that's kind of expensive, but yeah, these are some decent walleye rods. Fenwicks are alright. I used to use these guys right here. These are the Eagles, and they're a good bang for your buck. They're only like 50, 60 bucks. These are pretty good. I would suggest, again, 7 foot or longer, and a stronger backing but a lighter tip. Well, made it out of there alive. I don't know if I can breathe much longer. I was doing a lot of talking in there, I feel like. But again, like I said, I just went over kind of all of the tips and tricks of walleye fishing. That's just a very brief and basic video. If you guys want to see a more in-depth video, let me know. But I'm not a pro, guys. I'm stressing this 100%. I'm not a pro, and I do not know everything. I just wanted to tell you guys what I do, what I use, and I'm just trying to help you guys become a better spring walleye fisherman, honestly. If you guys have any tips for me or anybody else, drop a comment down below. Let me know what's your guys' spring walleye tips. Let me know what you use, what kind of line you use. All of that good stuff. Just drop a comment down below. There's still a bunch of ice up here in Minnesota, as well as down in South Dakota, and like I said, as soon as that ice comes off, I will be open water fishing. I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna try to do a few other videos for you guys, so stay tuned for some really good videos. Thank you so much for watching this video and putting up with all the kind of like the BS videos, honestly, like the tips videos. I know you guys don't want to see these. I know you guys probably want to see more action videos, and I promise they're coming. We got stuff coming. Really do appreciate you guys checking out this video. Drop a comment down below, share this video, and again, thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what you guys do for spring walleye fishing. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.